Welcome to Around the Blockchain. It's going to be a fantastic episode. We're talking about the Fed panicking over the jobs report. Can you play Doom on Bitcoin? What does that mean for this immutable ledger? And also, a balloon's floating above us. Is it above your house right now? We're going to talk about it with some fantastic guests. On the top right, we have Crypto Crusader. I thought he had the vest on for a second. How are you doing today, Crusader?
Doing great, man. Thank you for having me back on the show.
Hey, man, always love it having you on. You're welcome back anytime. Also, on today's episode, we have Hotep Jesus. Hotep, how goes it?
What's up, man?
Hey, great to have you on as well. Now, first time on the show, it is Dusty BC Crypto. Dusty, how are you doing? You've known Ben for a while, correct?
I'd say so, yeah. For a little while. I think on my channel, the pinned interview with him has been on there for like a year or so. It's been crazy.
Okay, yeah. Well, welcome to Around the Blockchain. It's actually his first time on. If you don't know how the show works, the more good points you give, we're going to give you points on the top right. If you like what the guests are saying, hit a +1 in the chat. And then rounding it up, and I don't mean by a lasso. I mean, Cowboys of Crypto is in the house. Cowboys, how are you doing today? Are you pop locking? Are you in a Toyota commercial from the mid-90s?
Always, and I'm riding this Toyota all the way to the top with Bitcoin. Excited
all right.
for it.
Well, let's talk about this jobs report, and the Fed may be overreacting because they don't like that unemployment is so low. They say it's almost impossible to stop inflation while you have low employment data or low unemployment data. And we added 517,000 jobs in January. The estimate was only 187,000. So well above any kind of estimate that they had. And wages also posting solid gains for the month. Hourly earnings up in line with estimates, up 4.4% from a year ago, still below inflation, however. So you're still not keeping up with inflation if you got a 4.4% raise there. But let me ask you, Hotep, because we're hearing so much mixed data. You know, are we in a recession? Are we not in a recession? Is it a double dip recession? Is unemployment good? Is there a lot of people out of work? You're looking at unemployment data here. Is the unemployment data, is this jobs report, is it showing an accurate representation of where you think the U.S. economy is?
No, absolutely not. First of all, unemployment only represents the amount of people that have applied for unemployment with the government and have been approved for unemployment with the government. So if you have a job, if you don't have a job, you could still be considered unemployed, but you wouldn't be in the unemployment rate. The other thing is when you destroy jobs and you bring them back, is that growth? And then lastly, it's like, well, if you have a whole bunch of people going out to get second jobs just to afford eggs, does that count as jobs growth? Everybody has to get a second income. So I can't really corroborate with these numbers.
Yeah, I would agree. And like you said, if you gave up, you don't count for the unemployment. And I imagine there's a lot of people, sitting on the couch just kind of shrugged and said, you know what, can't find a job. And then, they're not going to be in this list of numbers here. Now, Cowboys of Crypto, the FOMC meetings, they keep raising rates and they're kind of hoping for unemployment to be high so they can kind of stop raising rates because the economy, as it's so strong, they got to keep jacking these things up. Do you think that this jobs data, is it worrying you that we might just keep creeping up and maybe hit 6%, maybe even 7% in the near term?
Look, when you fill out your Tinder profile, everything's just a little bit bigger. Your house is bigger, your car is bigger, the money you make is bigger, but you might be in an Airbnb, you might be leasing. And I think that's what's happening here. Everyone already knows that we're in their Tinder profile. We're Tinder chatting right now with the government. And all of what they're saying right now is all just inflated. So like Hotep said, all this stuff is like, you don't know what's happening. And there's a lot of factors to take in here to really get an accurate report on the economy. But I think for you and me, we need to take this stuff sober-minded. Look, the Wire, this is from the Wire, India has 28% unemployment rate. It's going to keep on going up, but their factories are working at 70% efficiency. Rachel Gressler, senior research from Heritage Foundation, said that the majority of the group that is leaving the workforce is 20 to 24-year-olds. Now, I don't know why that is. A lot of the narrative was like women and stuff like that, but I don't know why that is. But for some reason, like we just said, that these jobs are being destroyed. Maybe they changed the behavior too much. Maybe people are getting stimmy checks. I don't know. Maybe they're getting paid under the table. I don't know. But this is alarming. This is just one data point, and we need to take in more factors. We can't just willy-nilly accept all these reports that they're saying and be like, oh, yeah, the economy is good. When I'm going to the Publix, I'm going to the market, and eggs are $15, literally $15. So at the end of the day, we need to remember that they're trying to spin the narrative. You and I are the hot girl in this Tinder date, and we need to have some level of caution when talking to them.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Any kind of data, it is similar to, I guess, your assessment here of a dating app profile. To that effect, I will say this: you'll never see a man that is a height of 5'11". You'll literally never see it. They're just going to go to 6 foot. I don't know. Maybe some of the ladies can verify or deny whether or not that accurate.
That's what we're talking about. Height, nothing else.
Height. Yes, for sure. All right, moving on. Now, Crypto Crusader, we do want to bring down inflation, obviously, to, like he said, they're $15 at Publix for a dozen eggs. Can we bring down inflation while these job reports just keep coming out with this awesome data? Whether or not they're 5'11" or 6 foot, we don't know. But as these reports keep coming in with all this robust, hey, we just added 500,000. We actually have a chart that we could show where you can just see a huge spike of an employment gain there. So can we stop inflation while the labor market remains robust?
I think the labor market is a distraction in the first place. I think that obviously we're not going to come back down on inflation. That 2% target that they have is fugazi. That we're not going back to those days. The harm that has been done to the U.S. dollar and the U.S. economy since the fog around the world started cannot be undone as quickly as they want to. As well as with the labor market, they know that if they're trying to push for more unemployment, right, to bring down the inflation. But if we bring up the unemployment too high at the same time, then there's no actual workforce there to bring up the economy, and then you have a market collapse, right? So I don't think it's going to happen. I also agree with Hotep that the numbers are fugazi, right? They're not showing us the real numbers. If people are literally coming back, getting a second job, or getting back a job that they lost when the fog around the world started, is it really job growth? Just like the CPI numbers and all the inflation rate numbers, is all adjusted to their narrative, right? They've readjusted what recession means. They've readjusted a lot of different definitions of what situations we're actually currently in. So I don't think we're gonna be able to do anything about it. I don't think that there's gonna be anything that they can do. The biggest thing that they can do is get out of the way and actually focus on the supply chain problems that are happening, right? The things that are happening with food processing plants, the chickens, right? The egg shortages. That's what's going to help with the food prices coming down, is fixing the supply chain problems that we're facing that they don't talk about. And they just keep talking about, interest rate hikes.
Yeah, stop killing all the chickens. I'm not scared of a little avian flu. Come on, I'll eat that egg. Hey, we got to lower these prices. Now, Dusty, what do you think about this inflation narrative? Obviously, Bitcoin, great hedge against inflation. I assume you think that. I certainly do myself. Is there anything the Fed can do or any of these other sovereign nations can do to stop inflation from just going out of control?
I think it's always a funny one when we talk about the inflation being combated. I mean, there are such a huge amount of different ways they could combat it. But the bigger question comes in the sense of what's the quickest one to do it? Even here with the interest rate, is it a proper one? I'd say certainly, but it's a lagging one. And here in the same sense, I think now with this job report showcasing, it's showing a potential inability in the Fed to actually correctly combat that in a reasonable time frame here. And so when you just said something about Bitcoin, what exactly did you say?
Well, I would say Bitcoin is a good hedge against inflation. We don't have that narrative yet, though. Do you think that narrative will ever take hold?
Yeah, that's the biggest question of crypto, isn't it? But like right now, what is the correlation between crypto and the major indices? It's pretty indecisive. It's following along mostly the major indices. However, I keep thinking if the major recession actually does end up hitting, maybe at that point Bitcoin will show that inverse correlation. And actually be the major combatant against inflation. But for right now, it's not. It's growing towards it, right? But people are not buying it for the right reason just quite yet. Most people are just buying it for, money go up. Oh, nice. Not necessarily for, I need to keep my financials safe. I think it's idealistic, but not realistic just quite yet. I think mostly, however, it's just now we're seeing the Fed is not as overreaching in a proper sense as people mostly thought. They're showcasing inability to act against the inflation. And the craziest or scariest part, in my opinion, is the fact they're easing things already. I know it's for a softer landing. I know the man has talked, however, for so crazy long about job reports, job reports. It will showcase everything. Okay, all of a sudden we break records we've not seen since 1969, I believe. It's showcasing inability, in my opinion, especially with the fact that it's already lagging at the indicator of interest. I'm not sure they're going to be able to fix it now this way, the way things
You
are
know,
going.
you kind of, now this is me putting my tinfoil hat on, but I do recall that, 12 months, 18 months out, job reports, look at the job reports. The job reports will give you all the data. And now they're almost coming in too strong. It makes me wonder, did they tweak an equation, change the algorithm for the end result of the data? And maybe that's why the numbers are looking so good, because they do alter how they get all these metrics just on a regular basis, decade by decade, year by year, quarter by quarter. So, hey, maybe something a little bit there. I don't know if that's what you're maybe referencing there, but I did like your line, idealistic, not quite realistic. But in the meantime, take our dollar. That's imperialistic. All right, let's move on and talk about Doom. Big shout out. Hit that like button if you ever played Doom. Doom, according to those blog words, you can see it right here. You can now play Doom directly on Bitcoin. Yes, that is right. There's a Satoshi out there that has the Doom game built on it to, big in the Reddit circles, Doom on everything. Sometimes it's on a toaster. Sometimes it's on a refrigerator. Now it's on the Bitcoin network here. There's a little bit of a battle. This is with the inscriptions add-on, and this is thanks to the Taproots upgrade there, and the SegWit upgrade kind of led to this as well. And now you can play the iconic 1993 first shooter there, Cowboys of Crypto. What do you think about Bitcoin having video games on there? Obviously not part of Satoshi's vision, or in a weird way, is it? What do you think?
Giving people Bitcoin is like giving someone a pen and paper. If you give a child the pen and paper, they're going to draw an ugly little circle and call it dad. If you give it to a teenager, they're going to use it to draw Goku from Dragon Ball Z. Maybe that was just me. If you give it to an adult, they're going to maybe do some business calculations on it, or make a plan and really add value to the whole, economy, or whatever they want to do. At this stage of the game, we are all children, okay? Our familiarity with Bitcoin is novice at best. We have the freedom to do whatever we like and our imagination run wild, and we're just getting started. When we invented steel, we didn't know that we were inventing the stuff, the material to take us to the moon in a spaceship. So there is still a lot of growth and future growth in this market, in Bitcoin, in blockchain in general. So I don't think it should matter if they're mining or they're creating NFTs for Bit Doom or Bit Boom or Bit Bird or Bit Turd. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of freedom involved in owning Bitcoin, in participating in the network, and running the nodes. So far too long, let's just say that far too long that we've been using the most primitive ways to communicate, where there's transfer of value, but there's so much more that we could do that's unlocked with blockchain technology and Bitcoin. So I'm just excited to be a part of it. People can mint whatever they want. It's a college freshman, right? We're all college freshmen. It's about exploration. So I can't imagine how this technology is going to innovate anything from 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now.
Well, speaking of exploration, I'm looking on PancakeSwap. I'm gonna find BitTurd on the Binance Smart Chain. I'm gonna swap in. I'm gonna ape in a BNB there. Maybe it pumps. All right. Well, Dusty, I'm kind of interested in your opinion on this. Should it matter if they're minting NFTs or putting Doom on Bitcoin? Someone who probably a little bit more of a maxi than the other three guests, probably more than myself. What is your thought of NFTs existing? I mean, is it that big of a deal if a Pepe trading card exists on a Satoshi?
I think it's a very big problem. For the most part, I think there's two main ways to see this. One is Bitcoin should be free for everybody to choose whatever they want to do, which has already proven to not be a good thing. Back in 2018, I cover news every day, so it's been kind of ingrained or whatever in my mind. There was a lot of CP, let's just call it that. There was a lot of problems with things being put on Bitcoin. And at that point, I just made up my mind and saying, okay, this idea of it being free for everybody and whatnot is not so nice, because first of all, you're going to get a lot of garbage like this. But second of all, it's going to become a lot harder for an everyday Joe, a little guy over in whatever, pick a place at some remote place somewhere, to just get a full history and just get everything to be involved with the network, And so from an opposite side, there was an idea, I think in 2010, even already on some of the Bitcoin forums, that kind of described, hey, should we get these DNS? Should we get all these things on Bitcoin? And it was kind of voted mostly along the side of, let's not, because it's going to make it too big. let's make another separate coin for it if. And I think that was Namecoin that was made at the time, like 10 years ago, 13 years ago or something. Obviously, it didn't succeed that well because people mostly just care for Bitcoin for payments, other cryptos like we're seeing now for other things. And so for that reason, no, I don't think it should be on there. But there is obviously debate to be had.
Real quick follow-up. Is there any, people chat or anybody talking about how long from now the immutable ledger might become too large? Those who don't know, if you want to run a Bitcoin node, like he said, the entire history of Bitcoin, and now with these recent blocks, it's getting a lot bigger, a lot more data. I mean, just think about a regular Satoshi. Now you're inserting Doom video game on top of there. Is this a month away? We got to worry about this a year from now, 10 years from now, 2 weeks from now? At what point do we need to worry about the data size of the ledger?
Well, to that, I have to quickly insert and say, it really depends on what exactly people start to do. There's a very big wave exactly right now. And there's multiple Twitter accounts where you can follow this that are showcasing the amount of crazy things people are trying to insert. I'm not sure if you guys have gotten the whole ordinals wave right now, but people are going pretty crazy on the crypto forums, so to speak, about what exactly can be put onto the blockchain and also what people are trying to get on there. So what they're trying to get towards to put on. Yeah, and you're going to see some exponential growth at that. Right now, I'd say, again, I don't know the actual numbers, but it's a pretty slow upwards climb. But the moment we start to put such huge things on there, it's going to go exponentially quickly.
Okay, all right. That's something to keep an eye out on, and some we're going to be following pretty closely. As hey, does it get too big? Remains to be seen. All right. Well, Crypto Crusader. I'm looking at there's brand new things on here. We got Doom on there. We got NFTs. We got people in the forums. They're trying to inject even more stuff. Is this Bitcoin trying to be too much like EVM or a different NFT chain? Do you think that Bitcoin is maybe straying away and trying to be too much like an alt, in your opinion?
Yeah, 100% agree on that. Right, I do agree with a lot that Dusty said about just keeping Bitcoin what it is. It's like KISS, keep it simple, stupid. There's no reason to be adding all these NFTs. There is the worry about the block size, right, and just adding all this junk. We don't know who's adding all this junk to it, right? Is there through a whole entire verification process?
Wait, I'm hearing a word right now. It's BSV maxis. I'm just I don't know.
Right. So this could be a way of conspiracy theory, right? It's the whole about attacking Bitcoin and polluting Bitcoin with a bunch of trash on it and straying away from its actual purpose, right? Bitcoin is for payments, for digital gold, for preservation for to preserve your wealth. And doing this with Bitcoin, we don't need to, right? We have Ethereum, we have Polygon, we have ADA, we have all these other solutions that can do NFTs, that can do whatever other kind of digital gaming metaverse stuff on their own blockchain. Polluting Bitcoin with this is polluting the message of what Bitcoin should be, and I don't think it's a good solution at all.
All right, I tend to agree. Now, Hotep, what are your thoughts on these equivalents of NFTs existing on blockchain? Will this harm its narrative as a store of value? Will it harm its narrative as digital gold in the long run?
Definitely a potential. From my cursory understanding is people are concerned about transaction fees. And, they're saying, after the last Bitcoin block is mined, how are miners going to get paid? And they're saying transaction fees, but they're saying now with the whole ordinals thing, transaction fees are going to be too high. But if the fees are high, then that means Bitcoin miners will still have a reason to mine Bitcoin after the last block. So it's just like, all right, whatever. So you got that whole rabbit hole you got to travel down. Then they're talking about, the size and, um, of the actual blocks. Well, have they changed the size of the blocks? And I believe the speed of the blockchain still stays the same. So I don't see how a lot of this stuff is going to bog down the network. Then the other thing is when you deal with what is Bitcoin? Well, if Bitcoin is the reserve asset of things, then I can see why you would say, no, we don't want people dropping their bit turds on our blockchain. I could totally understand that. However, people are saying contradictory things where Bitcoin is money and it's a reserve asset. And it's like, yo, you can't be both. You got to pick one. Let's slow down. And then the last piece of the puzzle of it all is Ethereum, Syscoin. There's the crypto market is adopting various ways to use the blockchain technology, whether it be NFTs. But the big thing for me is gaming. I think gaming is going to be the thing that makes NFTs explode, or I should say legitimate, and is going to be the thing that makes gaming more interesting. At some point, you're going to have games like Fortnite that are just going to be completely 100% run with cryptocurrencies. I don't understand why games aren't running cryptocurrencies and people aren't earning real cash in cryptocurrency now. I mean, I would expect a game like Grand Theft Auto to, implement this economy of some sort. It's just so much money to be made there. So I think gaming is going to be the way that cryptocurrency becomes massively adopted. Whether that happens on Bitcoin or another chain remains to be seen. But maybe this is way Bitcoin is saying, Ethereum, you can do it, we can do it too.
Hey, I'll play a game to earn a Satoshi.
Look, I'm so sorry. I have to interrupt the boomer talk, okay? Because right now I'm hearing everyone talk about how Bitcoin is this special thing that, and it's got to be reserved for other, we can't put games on it. We got to be scared for NFTs. We got to be purist. Look, okay? Freedom is the most important thing out there. If you think Bitcoin is really a reserve currency, it is, but ultimately it's freedom, because that is the most valuable thing any human being can have. The freedom to live, the freedom to do whatever we want to do. And that's what Bitcoin truly represents. That in itself is probably Satoshi Nakamoto's ultimate desire, is that he probably saw, looking all around, it's people enslaved. There's a whole bunch of types of enslavement, but the thing is that we have to really consider the true price, the true value of freedom. If that means that some dude is going to mint BitDoom on Bitcoin, fine, but I'm sure really mass adoption is going to come in when the big money comes in, and we're not. I feel like we should be free to do that kind of stuff. So I don't agree with you.
But you got freedom to do it on all these other exchanges, on all these other coins, right? You got the freedom to create your own token, right? Don't do it on Bitcoin, right? Freedom of money is Bitcoin, right? Decentralized money, right? Going away from the US dollar. So
this is
diluting that idea is not freedom.
This is idealism versus realism. You have the kid who wants things to be how they want them to be, and you have the people who understand things are as they are. And the Bitcoin clan ain't giving up their blockchain that easy. So you better watch where you tread.
All right. Just last thing on this topic, Dusty. I say you maybe want to jump in when you're talking about congested blocks got brought up. Was there anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, two things. One, I love the cowboy hat, but I think you're shooting up the wrong tree, or just shooting something completely wrong here. Because just for reference here, Satoshi's the guy that said, don't get all this stuff on there. He literally, I have it in front of me actually from before, piling every proof of work quorum system in the world onto one data set doesn't scale. And that was talking about Bitcoin and BitDNS, which eventually turned to Namecoin, being separate because you don't want everything onto Bitcoin. Just, it doesn't make sense, really. And just for reference, as we just said, has it become bigger? Apparently, the Bitcoin blockchain side, no, I should actually say one thing before. You just talked about the freedom. Again, I think if you want it to really be free, it should be accessible to everybody. 2015, how big was it? Hey, how big? It was 53 gigabytes. Now, 2021 or 2023-ish, 2022, it's 435 gigabytes. And percentage-wise, the increase keeps lowering. From 2015 on to 16, it was 80%. Right now, it's only like a 16% increase. But the more we start adding now, all of a sudden, the percentage-wise crazier this could get. And all of a sudden, right now, half a freaking terabyte is already a pretty big problem. But all of a sudden, you're going to start talking some real big data. It's not going to be as free for everybody to step in anymore. And so it's kind of against the freedom idea then, right?
It's a weird thing. It's like a snake eating its own, where it has to be free. And to do that, follow this rule. It's going to be interesting. See how this plays out. I almost feel like it's 2017 again. Like I'm getting these fall 2017 vibes, and I'm kind of for it. I kind of like it. It's fun to shake up that Bitcoin tree every now and then, and see what falls and hits the ground. Maybe it's Namecoin. Who knows? All right, let's talk about the war balloon. Yeah, the balloon floating above America right now. I looked at where it came from. Wow, I can't believe China accidentally floated a balloon over the U.S. Here's a totally unrelated map. Come on, what are we, CCP apologists? It floated across Alaska, then through Canada, and then into Montana, and then seems to be going south. Last I saw, north of Kansas City. maybe around Missouri. And the U.S. military has been monitoring it for the past few days. A lot of senators on the Intelligence Committee, they got debriefed yesterday morning about it. And this isn't the first time Chinese balloons have been spotted. They have been spotted over the years. They've been spotted over Hawaii. They've been spotted over South Vietnam. This isn't anything new. But just to play fair here, Chinese Foreign Ministry did have a statement. They said Beijing is assessing the situation and that speculation and hype are unhelpful. And so I just wanted to throw out both sides of the story there. Hotep Jesus, I mean, do you think that this is just a weather balloon as claimed by the CCP, or is this maybe something else? And what might that be?
When it comes to war games, everything can be useful amidst a war game, even accidents. So we have two ways to look at this balloon thing. One way we can look at it is it's an accident, it's a nothing. And in that circumstance, both sides can assess how their population will respond to war and how the various departments of government and military will respond to war aggression. How does diplomacy take place? How did your president speak about this? What did the press secretary say, et cetera, et cetera? So there's lots of intel gathered here, even if this thing is just a huge nothing burger. Now, if this thing is a part of official war games, and that's exactly what it is a war game. China testing us, testing our airspace, et cetera, accessibility. So there's tons of data to be gathered here. We've seen maneuvering of ships out to sea when it comes to, what do they call them? The aircraft carriers, the Navy, United States military aggression, and then this people, those people, all these different people, invading everybody's airspace or water space. But it's really just war games. It's really just a test, and they're testing everybody's ability to stay alert and watching how people respond and just collecting data. So at the very least, this is a war game thing.
All right. Now, Dusty, the military has known about these balloons for years, and I see that you have a balloon, so maybe you are ahead of the curve. Why is the generalist populace, why are we just now learning about these balloons when these things have been around for years? You're muted. I think the balloon static charge. Yeah, you're muted.
Let's see. Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you go. I was about to say it was the CCP.
The balloons, that's what I'm saying, right? These balloons do crazy things to you, and that's showcased. No, in all reality, I think, man, balloon, is that what we're really so worried about? A balloon? They could be doing so much stuff, and we're worried about, a balloon might have showed up right here. Hey, let's quickly check this out now. So I personally don't think it's worth it to make a big fuss out of it, about the specific balloon. Again, that could be so ridiculously many things. If they really want their data, if that's what it's for, what is being hypothesized that the balloon is for now? What are the different ideas? Not even too much aware. Because any one of these things you can have a balloon there for, they could do through some other methods as well. And they can be doing it like literally this second. So not too worried about a balloon. They're probably doing some crazy shenanigans with it, most likely knowing how these systems be working. It's probably not just for fun. It's not like some kid forgot their little floaty and just, hey, there goes a crazy balloon. Like, no, I think there must be something deeper behind it. But to exactly figure out what it is, I don't think we're going to know. That's for the most of these things, right? You won't know. They won't tell you. You can't really figure it out yourself. Maybe you can go with like a microscope or something to try and spot it. But realistically here, I think it's just another, interesting. Put it on the side because we're not going to know. They're not going to tell us. So what exactly can I do with this now? Just keep it in the back of your head and don't forget that it's happening. But yeah, for me, I just don't know too much.
Another comment for the boomers watching at home. Maybe it's Balloon Boy. I don't know. I think I saw the father hanging around Montana, so I'm not exactly sure. Cowboys of Crypto, is there a chance that this is maybe more benign than we're making it out to be? Is there a possible it's just like, hey, maybe it was a weather balloon that lost its tracking guidance system and just kind of floated around the globe? There's wind.
First of all, I'd like to address everybody in the chat. Isn't Around the Blockchain an awesome channel where we could bring in other opinions and just get along? I think that's really good. Hit the like button for this video. Look, when we're addressing this balloon, I was watching The Office. It's a sitcom. And there are two guys who are frenemies, Jim and Dwight. And Dwight gave a gift to Jim. It was this duck, a mallard. And Jim accepts the duck. But inside the mallard, there's like a recording device. But Jim could be ignorant. And he could just accept the present for what it is, or he could be wise. He could be shrewd about it and check underneath and see that recording device. And in this situation, we have to take this balloon as the duck, okay? Could it be nothing? Could it be a nothing taco, nothing burger, nothing buffet? Maybe, but it would be unwise for us to just say, oh yeah, this is nothing, and let's just ignore it. I don't think that's the right move, because at the end of the day, who really trusts big government, right? Big government and all, you know what? Matter of fact, all of these things, big government, big pharma, big tech, big food, big media, it's big fake, okay? Big phony, big fiat. I don't believe if the Chinese is saying like, oh yeah, it's nothing. If the government's saying, the United States government is saying it's nothing, I don't trust that. We're in crypto for a reason. We don't trust, we verify. And so it would assume that the government is verifying, and we should take the same page. We should be verifying, because far too long that these giants have manipulated the masses, the publics, for information, media, public opinion, and narratives, and facts, and I'm sick of it. And so this is just one of those things. Like, it's just another thing that we should put up in there and be like, okay, it could be nothing, but I don't trust that it's nothing. I don't trust anyone telling me if it's nothing. I don't trust, I verify. Come out of the womb. Don't trust, verify, you're in crypto.
Yeah, I don't trust like that. I don't trust balloons that look like that. I will say that personally. Now, crypto crusaders, or go ahead real quick.
How are you supposed to verify anything along these lines? Okay, I mean, even if it's a Trojan horse, right? How can you check?
Yeah, so that
you got to go get, you got to.
That's not a question posed to us, but I don't trust the government saying anything to me. I'm just like, I don't trust any, like, nothing is trustworthy. Okay, nothing becomes trustworthy for me.
How do you verify? How do you verify the existence of a balloon? Get another balloon.
Okay,
that
might work.
That's 100% true.
I did look. It is pretty high, everybody. It is pretty high. I think it's in the stratosphere. The stratosphere is like 3 to 14 mile zone. I don't know where it is within that range, but it is pretty high. I don't recommend anyone try to get in a hot air balloon right up to it. I don't recommend anybody, point their 50. I don't think it's going to go. You're not a sharpshooter like that. So let's just, we'll see.
Damn.
Maybe it falls. Hey, there is gravity.
Okay.
All right, now, hey, who knows? Maybe it flies over, Tennessee or Alabama, West Virginia. Maybe it gets shot down over one of those states. But all right, crypto Crusader. I don't even remember what I was going to ask. Oh yeah, why do you think that they allowed it to come into our airspace on purpose? I mean, are we going to see that this thing all of a sudden starts decreasing in altitude suddenly, or it disappeared and maybe we grabbed it, maybe it just disappeared into the ether? I mean, do you think that this is maybe we're just trying to collect this thing?
So I don't know if it's going to decrease in altitude, right? But to the point that Hotep was making about data collection, yes, I believe that 100%, right? They're data collecting on how people are reacting to this. Did they allow this to happen? I also believe, yes, they've also admitted this is not the first time it has happened, right? There has been other balloons that have flown in around the United States from China. So it's not the first time, it's just the first time them admitting it. I do think there is a psychological effect to the United States admitting that China has some type of object flying over the U.S. airspace, and they are not shooting it down, and they're keeping it up there, and they're just kind of like hesitant about anything. It kind of reflects maybe the tension between the two countries, but it's also, like Hotep was saying, it is a test on the people, right? On the country. How are people reacting to this? How are people going to take this information and move forward with, hey, the United States is allowing China to fly objects, right? Whether it's a weather balloon or it's a UFO, whatever you want to call it, right? Allow it to enter our airspace and come into the country and just not really do anything about it. That is something that's happening. I also believe it points the finger to a different direction and distracts people from real problems, like I mentioned earlier about supply chain problems, right? The food facilities catching fire in the United States. Last year, we had over 100 food facilities all shut down or burned or whatever it was. So I think that is another way of, misdirection with us, with this air balloon. Everybody's looking up when you should probably be looking right in front of you what's actually happening here in the United States, not just economically, but, with everything else that's going on. So I definitely believe it's distraction. It is an experiment to data collect on both ends, right? How are people and how is China going to react to the diplomacy? How are they going to shoot it down? Are they going to be brave enough to shoot it down and say, hey, we shot it down, so what? Do something about it. Right? Or is Biden going to back off and say, well, that's my good old buddy over there. I don't want to shoot down his party balloon. Let them collect some data. So Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, on that note, I actually refuse anything the government's saying. I don't even think it's a Chinese balloon. I think it's a Fortnite bus, and it must be the next Mr. Beast video. It's pretty clear, everybody. It's clearly a Mr. Beast video. But that is all we have time for, and looks like Hotep ended up taking it at the end. I figured you have some hot takes on the balloon, and feel free, leave us with some parting thoughts, and maybe even give America a letter grade. How did we react to the balloon?
Let's give America a D minus. America never quite reacts to these things with the right mentality, although meme Twitter has done a great job meming this. So I give meme America an A+ on handling these things as a joke that they are. Go try my nootropic out. Maybe your brain will start working better, people. Trymasterfocus.com. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, definitely. And you can check out everybody's links in the description below while you're checking it out. Make sure you hit that like button. And today's episode brought to you by bcvault.com and presend.io. Big shout out to our sponsors. Links also in the description. Hey, Bit Squad, have a wonderful weekend. Go out, celebrate, pop some balloons, have a good time. That's all we have. We'll see you Monday.